Hanging out on the boat here in the salon. And as promised, I'm going to talk about how you bring your large boat or yacht home after you finish the purchase process. So we talked about why to buy your last boat first, how to buy your last boat first, and then now how to get that boat home to where you can use it. Home could be your home marina, or home could be the dock out in front of your house, wherever your boat is going to live, or home port. That is what we're thinking about. And again, if you're buying the boat and it's staying at the same marina you're at, that's pretty easy. Hopefully you'll even get to stay in the slip. If you're not, you are going to likely have to move this boat, whether it's a few hours or whether it's a few days or weeks. Really, there's kind of three options. There's the Han Solo option. You go ahead and get the boat and do it yourself. There is the delivery captain assisted option, where you hire a delivery captain to go with you. If you have a captain's waiver on your insurance, that's going to have to be a thing. Or you just pay a delivery captain to bring it back, and it will just appear where you need it to be. All three options are valid, depending on your situation. I chose the Han Solo method, and we took our boat from Punta Gorda, Florida, which is about an hour and a half south of Tampa by car, to back here in Northwest Florida, near Destin. And that was a 3-day trip, right? Our boat cruises at about 16 knots and tops out at about 24. So not the most wildly fast boat, but a lot faster than a sailboat, but a lot slower than some of your sport fish, etc. Ultimately, deciding how to get your boat home is going to be a personal choice. If you are comfortable with navigation and fuel planning, I think most people can do this on their own if their insurance will allow for it. Because really it's not that hard. Distance equals the rate times the time. And then how much fuel do you burn per hour? And where is the longest stop between fuel? For us to get from South Florida to Northwest Florida, the biggest jump was from Clearwater, Florida to Carabel, Florida, which is well within the range of this boat. In fact, we did it with about 100 gallons left of our 300-gallon or of our 400-gallon capacity. So we had plenty of reserve fuel for any issues. Now, so once you know your boat is navigationally capable of making it, meaning you have enough fuel with reserves to get across where your longest leg is, then we're starting to think about weather. Big boats are still subject to waves. Ultimately, you want to use a product. I happen to use Predict Wind. There are other products out there that has a great wave prediction model, and you do not want to be bucking headwinds and seas in the face the entire time, right? Other things that can be a problem are quartering, especially quartering aft waves. If they get too big, your boat will wash out and be unfun to control, and it also affects efficiency, right? So you have to take into account those weather windows. A lot of people will say, hey, cross at night. You probably heard me say that and how to dock your boat. If the wind's too bad, go get on the hook, wait for nighttime, and all of a sudden it will be less windy. That's not always the case, but it is certainly often the case. So that's an option too when you're doing your weather planning. I think the other thing when you talk about bringing your large boat home, you have to be willing to take a delay. It is okay to say, I'm not going today because the weather is too bad. You look at the weather forecast. I recommend looking at multiple weather forecasts. You look at things like Predict Wind, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This folds into the assisted delivery captain option and the full delivery captain option too. You have to understand you may not make it home on time. If you have a delivery captain, you're paying for them by the day. So ultimately, you need to take into account there may be some more expense if you have to lay up for weather. And then obviously, if you're paying a delivery captain to do this by themselves, you also have to understand that they may not get here with your boat on time. Some other things to think about are off-coast communications. Everybody will recommend having an EPIRB. We also had we used what's called a bivy stick, which turns your cell phone basically into a satellite texting device. It also has an SOS feature on it, meaning you can push a button on it and it will send out your location and tell everybody you're in trouble. Pretty much once you get 12 miles off the coast of anywhere, you will lose all of your cell signal. A lot of people are doing Starlink nowadays. That's another option for returning with communication. But ultimately, you want to have, a couple contingencies. So an EPIRB, something like a bivy stick and or Starlink. You could also use an Iridium cell phone. Seems like SpaceX has partnered with T-Mobile now to allow that to occur when you're out of cell range in some level. So that will be coming online. But ultimately, you just want to have a good emergency plan. That's the number one thing. God forbid if your boat sinks or starts sinking, what is your plan? Um, so beyond the navigation piece, and we'll go over that in more depth in another video. When you're bringing your boat home, it's the first time you've had a survey. You're confident that the boat is seaworthy, but that doesn't mean things won't go wrong. And having a good plan of like having a hit and run bag. Or a ditch bag is very important, right? So if and you need to have that within grasp. There was a story recently of about an 80-foot yacht. They hit a submerged pipe that wasn't on the charts. It holed the bottom of the boat, and they sunk in minutes. That is not your typical sinking, but it isn't possible. So most of the time, when you get a leak on a boat, your boat will have an alarm, and when your bilge pumps start going, you're going to get an alarm of why are my bilge pumps running? Bilge pumps shouldn't run normally. Your boat should not leak enough to have to bilge water constantly. So when you get an alarm for a bilge pump running, you should take that seriously and go investigate it. I think the other interesting piece of bringing your boat home the first time is you should be down in the engine room every 60 to 90 minutes, just observing everything, right? You don't know the boat and where its maintenance status is. Again, you've had an engine survey, but that is very cursory. They spend a few hours on the boat and then you don't know exactly that survey. So checking something out. For instance, when we brought this boat home, I found the reverso, which is an oil change system, was leaking on the starboard transmission. I had a set of tools with me, which is smart. You should always bring a set of tools with you when you're making long trips. In fact, I keep a set of tools on the boat all the time. And I was able to snug down that nut and stop that leak, and we had no issues. That was really the only issue we had on the entire trip was a leaky nut on the reverso. But if I hadn't been down in the engine room and I had just run for 10 hours without leaking, it's quite possible we would have destroyed the starboard transmission. That was not picked up during the survey on our boat. So those are little things like that. We didn't really have any other issues. We actually lost our salon air conditioner, which I have since replaced. But on the way home, that was actually something we negotiated on. It was noted on the survey that it was end of service life, and day one it broke. That was There you go. We had two other air conditioners on the boat. We have a midship and a forward air conditioner, and that was fine. So other things you want to think about when you're coming back is booking marinas. Some people will say, hey, let's stay on the hook. You can absolutely do that. Just remember, you're going to be either on the generator or on battery power. If you don't know the great condition of your boat, you are chancing it, especially with batteries. Batteries can look good on a survey, but then very quickly die when they've been used to run things like lights, right? Um, if you're coming back, I would not stay on the hook overnight without having the generator running. You definitely want to make sure the batteries are completely charged in the morning when you go to start the engines. And having air conditioning is nice if it's hot, or heating is nice when it's cold. So you can either plan to stop at marinas or plan to stop at anchorages. Those all work. It depends on your comfort level of anchoring. If you have a delivery captain, you can absolutely lean on them for that. The gotcha of going to marinas, you're going to have to go to a marina anyway to fuel up, especially if it is a long trip like ours. We got fuel at the start, the first night, and the second night. So we had to get fuel 3 times total. And so you are going to dock the boat. If you are smart, you will find the marina where you can not only get the fuel, but also stay overnight in a slip, in a what they call a transient slip. So those are just some of the things. And you also have to realize that if you have a reservation for a transient slip and you don't make it, you might not have a slip. So you should also be prepared to stay on the hook if necessary. And you need to take that into account. If you're going to burn fuel on a generator all night, depending on how tight your fuel is, you have to keep in mind that you're doing that. The other piece is with a twin engine yacht, you have the ability to run on a single engine. but you will go much slower if you are in a planing hull yacht. If you are in a trawler, you're probably already on a single engine or maybe two engines, but you're running at low RPMs. But if you are in a twin engine planing hull boat and you want to get up to a higher cruise speed, you're going to be on plane. If you lose one engine, that's okay. The boat will still go, but it's going to go a lot slower. So you have to have contingencies for that. The beauty of a twin engine yacht is the likelihood of you losing one engine and your steering is pretty slim. Um, so you're most likely going to be able to steer, whether that's with a single engine and rudders or whether that's with twin engines. So if you lose your steering, the rudder should float, and you can control that with asymmetric thrust of steering the boat. Or if you go single engine, you still have the capability to steer with rudders. That will make docking much more difficult if you don't have both engines, but hopefully you have a marina there with people that will be able to help you catch lines. But again, ultimately, to get your boat home, you have to think about navigation and fuel planning, weather. Uh, Make sure you have it in your mind that you're not going to get there on time, and that's okay. The other one is also being able to, um, have the plan for where you're going to stay and where you're going to get fuel, and then also be open to contingencies and things that aren't going to go right, because you will probably have something not go as planned. And then also have a good plan to ditch. Always have a ditch bag with your emergency equipment ready for you, even within arm's reach, right? And everybody on the boat that's with you should be briefed on that. If God forbid you get hulled and the boat goes down in minutes, you need to be able to get off the boat with something that was going to help you save your life and keep you communicating with emergency folks. Again, most things don't happen like that. Usually it's a slow leak anticipated by bilge. If you have those, you need to have a plan and where you're going to go and how you're going to mitigate that, and the capability to do those things. And we'll go over emergency procedures in another video, but bringing your boat home, it can be pretty fun. It's like your very first boat vacation on your big boat. And hopefully this video brought some enlightenment on how to get your boat home. Happy to answer questions. Tell me what you think in the comments. Hit like and subscribe, and looking forward to seeing you in the next video.